Welcome to Power in Words, a quiet corner of the world designed to be your source of inspiration, enduring strength, and gentle, positive energy. Life often asks us to move at a relentless pace, leaving very little room for us to simply breathe and listen to our own inner voices. If you have found your way here today, know that you are in a safe space, sitting with a friend who understands the unspoken weight you carry. We gather here not to demand perfection from ourselves, but to find shared understanding, to heal the quiet fractures in our confidence, and to gently awaken the immense inner strength that resides in every single one of us. Take a deep breath and let your shoulders drop. You do not have to perform here. You do not have to pretend to be entirely put together. We are simply here to reflect, to gather our scattered pieces, and to find the courage to keep walking. There is a deeply human experience that unites us across oceans, cultures, and generations. It is the quiet, sometimes painful distance between the life we are living and the life we once imagined for ourselves. When we are young, our dreams often feel vivid and inevitable. We hold them lightly, untouched by the complicated realities of adulthood, financial pressures, or the subtle rejections that life hands us. Yet, as the years pass, a heavy pragmatism begins to settle over those early visions. We learn to compromise. We begin to listen to the cautious advice of well-meaning family members, the skeptical voices of society, and the rising tide of our own self-doubt. You might look at your life right now and wonder how you drifted so far from the shoreline of your genuine ambitions. Perhaps you feel a profound sense of loneliness in your current path, a quiet aching that something essential is missing, even if everything looks perfectly fine on the outside. This is a remarkably common psychological burden, a form of grief for the unlived life. It is not a sign that you are failing, but rather a profound indication that your deeper self is still alive, longing for expression and asking to be acknowledged. We often label this discomfort as anxiety or discontent, but from a psychological perspective, it is simply the spirit knocking on the door, reminding you that your dreams were never meant to be abandoned in the attic of your mind. The journey back to those dreams is rarely blocked by a lack of ability or intelligence. More often, it is barricaded by an intricate architecture of fear. Fear of failure is the most obvious culprit, deeply intertwined with the fear of judgment. We live in an era of unprecedented visibility where the curated successes of others are broadcast into our lives every day. This constant exposure creates a brutal mirror of self-comparison. You look at others who seem so certain, so accomplished, and a quiet, pervasive imposter syndrome begins to whisper. It tells you that your flaws are unique, that your aspirations are foolish, that you have somehow already run out of time. This voice is convincing because it uses your deepest insecurities against you. It isolates you in a solitary confinement of your own making, convincing you everyone else has a map while you wander in the dark. But the reality of human psychology is far more complex and forgiving. Everyone, even the most seemingly confident among us, wrestles with the exact same shadows in the quiet of the night. True confidence is never the total absence of doubt. It is the willingness to listen to the doubt, acknowledge its presence, and consciously decide to take a step forward anyway. In the mid-19th century, the American writer and philosopher Henry David Thoreau stepped away from the expectations of conventional society and moved to the woods surrounding Walden Pond. He did this not out of a desire to escape, but out of a profound need to confront the essential facts of life. From that period of intense reflection emerged one of the most powerful and enduring instructions ever written for the human spirit. Thoreau wrote, "Go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you have imagined." These words are not a whimsical suggestion. They are a profound, almost urgent psychological imperative. But the word confidently here is often misunderstood. We tend to think of confidence as a loud, unshakable armor. We imagine that to go confidently means we must have a flawless plan, guaranteed financial security, and the complete approval of everyone around us. If we wait for those conditions, we will wait forever. The confidence Thoreau speaks of is something much quieter and resilient. It is a quiet internal agreement that your life belongs to you, and that the visions you hold in your heart are worthy of pursuit, regardless of the odds. To go confidently means stepping into the unknown with a sense of personal responsibility for your own fulfillment. It is the brave decision to validate your desires before seeking validation from the world. Think about the most significant changes in your life. They rarely started with a grand, cinematic gesture. They almost always began with a quiet, private moment of decision. A moment where you looked at your circumstances and realized the pain of staying exactly where you are has finally surpassed the fear of stepping into the unfamiliar. Moving in the direction of your dreams often looks remarkably ordinary from the outside. It looks like waking up an hour earlier to write, to study, or simply to sit in silence and gather your thoughts. It looks like setting a boundary with a relationship that drains your energy. It looks like sending that email, making that phone call, or signing up for that class despite the persistent tremor in your hands. As the author Marianne Radmacher beautifully noted, courage does not always roar. Sometimes it is simply the quiet voice at the end of the day saying, "I will try again tomorrow." When you align your daily actions with your deeply held aspirations, something remarkable begins to happen within your psychology. You begin to rebuild trust with yourself. For many of us, the greatest betrayal we have ever suffered is our own self-betrayal. We have broken countless promises to ourselves to keep the peace with others or to avoid the terrifying possibility of failure. This erodes our self-respect. But the moment you start walking in the direction of your dreams, no matter how small or unsteady the steps may be, you begin to repair that internal relationship. You demonstrate to your subconscious mind that you are finally willing to advocate for your own existence. This process of rebuilding self-trust is the true foundation of resilience. It is what allows you to face the inevitable setbacks that will occur on your path. Because the reality is, the road to the life you have imagined is rarely a straight line. It is fraught with detours, disappointments, and periods of agonizing waiting. There will be days when progress feels invisible and the mountain seems entirely too steep. In those moments, it is crucial to remember transformation is not an event, but a slow, continuous process of shedding old identities and patiently cultivating new ones. Think of a master artisan shaping clay, or a musician learning a complex composition. The early attempts are rarely masterpieces. They are clumsy, discordant, and fraught with mistakes. Yet, the artist does not view a misshapen bowl or a missed note as a permanent flaw in their character. They see it as the necessary friction of mastery, but they never internalize the falling as a permanent statement about their identity. They do not conclude they are simply not cut out for walking. They possess an innate, uncorrupted drive toward growth. As adults, we must consciously reclaim that grace for ourselves. When you pursue a dream and encounter a failure, it is just a stumble. It is a necessary friction that teaches you balance. The psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl profoundly observed, between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space is our power to choose our response. When the inevitable rejection or obstacle arrives, you have a choice in that space. You can interpret it as a definitive sign that you should retreat to the safety of the known, or you can view it as life asking you to clarify your intentions, adjust your strategy, and deepen your commitment. Choosing the latter is what it means to go confidently. Walking in the direction of your dreams also requires a certain level of emotional independence from the opinions of others. When you prioritize your authentic path over the expectations of your community, there will naturally be friction. People accustomed to the old version of you might feel unsettled by your growth. They might project their unfulfilled dreams and fears onto your journey, offering unsolicited warnings under the guise of care. Navigating this dynamic requires immense emotional maturity and self-compassion. You must hold your vision sacred, protecting it from the cynicism of a world that rewards conformity. You do not need to argue with skeptics. Your only task is to quietly continue your work. Let persistent dedication be your only argument. As you walk further down your chosen path, you will gradually attract a new community. You will find fellow travelers who recognize your courage because they cultivate it within themselves. These are the connections that nourish the soul, friendships built not on shared complaints, but on a shared commitment to building something meaningful. Living the life you have imagined is much deeper than material acquisition. It is about a profound sense of alignment. It is the quiet, powerful sensation of waking up in the morning and knowing your energy is poured into endeavors reflecting your genuine values. We are given a finite number of mornings and an unpredictable lease on life. To squander that precious currency hiding from your potential is the only true failure. To bridge the gap between where you are and where you wish to be, we must gradually learn the art of radical self-forgiveness. Many of us carry backpacks filled with the regrets of our past. We ruminate on the years we feel we wasted and the mistakes we made along the way. This relentless self-punishment consumes psychological energy desperately needed for your journey forward. You cannot walk confidently into your future if you constantly turn around to fight ghosts in your past. Healing begins when you gently release the demand that your younger self should have known better. You can start to offer compassion to the version of you who let fear dictate their choices, recognizing they were simply doing the best they could with the tools they had at the time. Those experiences were not a waste of time. They were the rigorous curriculum of your own becoming. Everything that has happened to you has been gathering inside you, preparing you for the exact moment you are in right now. You cannot change yesterday, but you have absolute authority over the next step you take today. As you take that step, you will inevitably encounter the friction of identity shift. The human ego craves stability and predictability. It prefers the familiar misery of the known over the terrifying possibility of the unknown. When you decide to honor your dreams, you fundamentally challenge the story you have told yourself about who you are and what you are capable of achieving. This cognitive dissonance can manifest as exhaustion, sudden bouts of irrational anxiety, or a desperate urge to sabotage your progress just to return to baseline comfort. Understanding this psychological mechanism is your greatest advantage. When you feel the overwhelming desire to quit just as you gain momentum, recognize it not as a sign of weakness, but as a symptom of genuine transformation. Your old self is throwing a tantrum because it knows it is being outgrown. Do not fight it with harsh discipline. Instead, speak to that fearful part of yourself as you would to a frightened child. Reassure your mind that it is safe to expand, safe to succeed, and safe to finally inhabit the life you have envisioned. This compassionate inner dialogue is the hallmark of emotional maturity and the secret to sustained motivation. So if you find yourself standing at a crossroads today, feeling the heavy pull of the known competing with the persistent tug of your aspirations, I invite you to pause. Listen closely to the whisper that refuses to go away. Do not look at the entirety of the mountain, for that will only invite paralysis. Look only at the very next step. What is one small, manageable action you can take today that signals to your own heart that you are listening? Perhaps it is writing a single page. Perhaps it is researching a new path. Perhaps it is simply sitting in silence and allowing yourself to actually feel the desire you have spent years suppressing. Whatever it is, do it with a sense of quiet reverence for your own life. The universe does not demand that we achieve absolute perfection or monumental worldly success. It only asks that we participate fully in the unfolding of our own unique potential. You carry within you an entire universe of untapped capability, a reservoir of resilience that has survived every difficult day you have ever faced. It is time to trust that strength. It is time to stop apologizing for the magnitude of your desires and start taking responsibility for their realization. Your dreams are not a distraction from your life. They are the very map to your becoming. If these words brought you a sense of comfort or clarity today, I would love for you to like this video, share it with someone who might need to hear it, and subscribe to Power in Words so we can continue walking this beautiful, challenging journey together.